Companies usually grow by performing well. But for a company to grow, you need sometimes hundreds and probably even thousands of employees to really crush their goals. But that never happens in reality due to a variety of reasons. Either goals are not broken down from corporate level to the team level, either communication is not clear. What can be done to ensure that an organization becomes a high performance organization, and what is the role that HR can play in that? Let's close the loop on this. So joining me on Close the Loop is Aparna. Aparna is the head of HR for Aknamed. Aparna, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Srinivas.
So why should even HR consider or even think about performance management? Isn't it something that the business should just worry about?
How much will the business worry about it? That's my first thing, right?
Okay.
Because one, yes, performance, end of the day, is tied to the business. But they have other things to do as well. So that's where HR comes in. Because I think HR brings in that amount of fairness, consistency, like you said, closing the loop.
Right.
All of that is what HR brings to the table. To ensure that every employee knows, one, what's the larger picture of the organization,
Right.
and it's broken down till the last person, be it your last mile, whatever.
Right.
So that's where HR comes in.
Right. And have you seen over the years that HR has now beginning to play a role in sort of bridging this gap? First of all, why is there a gap? I mean, for example, if there's a corporate goal and the business divides that into functional goals, then it's fairly clear, right? Why is there a gap between what is decided at a higher level and what is being perceived at the individual contributor level? Why is there a gap?
At times it's not just transferred, articulated, broken down for every employee, and not all of us understand the same language.
Right.
One size doesn't fit all. That's
Correct.
where I come from, right?
Okay.
If you say something, I should also understand the same thing. That's
Right.
communication. And if you don't break down your goals in the manner that somebody else will understand, nobody can,
Right.
And you can't perform towards it.
Correct. Right.
And how much of the business will be able to do that?
Right.
They can only articulate it on the larger level.
Correct.
And that's where HR comes in to break it down to ensure that everybody understands and what is the goal that we are working for.
Correct. So that brings me to the next question. I'm sure that you've been part of companies that have crushed their goals and have been high performance organizations. What are some of the factors that actually make a company high performing?
Now, high performance is very, very figurative, right? High performance, loop can be but then if somebody else within your own organization, you will have somebody saying, no, we are still not there. We are yet to reach that high performance, right? So that's where
That's a perception.
That's a perception.
Right.
Every organization looks at it. I can say, no, we're yet to get there. But somebody else in the market will say, no, Akna has already reached there.
Right.
So again, it's a perception.
Right. And so what are some of the factors? Like you said, people was one factor that makes. What else needs to be in place for a company to be a really high performance company?
I think the leadership team should know what exactly are the goals that we're achieving for. Say, even it could be as simple as revenue. Say today we are at 1, tomorrow if you're going to be at 5x, we should also have what will it take for that 5x, right? It's not just the manpower all the time.
Right.
It could be...
So you can't throw more people at the...
Absolutely, you can't.
Yeah.
It could be which are the businesses that you're going to go after. Is it a B2B or a B2C? So the clarity of that kind of a thought makes a lot of difference to make sure you're a high performance company.
So the people, and then there's the clarity.
There is again, it comes back to clarity, communication,
Right.
and then every person should relate to the goals that you have.
That's interesting. Can you break the... Like,
Say for example,
how do you get
because
that?
your goals and your values are together.
Right.
Say for example, if I have one of the values that I have individually is care and persistence.
Right.
Now, for every work that I do, for every action, or be it the task or the strategy that I look at, as long as there's persistence and care to it, where does it come into the picture, right? From a value perspective. For example, care. I have an employee who's met with an accident. Insurance coverage is only so much. What if you don't have corpus?
Right.
Whom do you reach out to? Can HR or anybody, right, within the entire organization, because care is one of our values, saying, hey, let's come together and let's all fund
Right.
Support the cause. That shows what care is all about.
Correct.
So that's why I said it's not just the goals, it's also the values. Both of them come together.
And what happens when, in defining the goals, sometimes leaders don't take into consideration the values? Like, does that happen when the
No, that doesn't happen at all. I haven't seen it. The values are taken into consideration, primarily one, because all of us have customers that you deal with, and the minute they're customers,
Right.
the values do come into play.
Correct. So there's also this conflict these days about when you talk about the term high performance, it's usually, maybe I can use the word, confused with spending more time in office or, sacrificing things. So is there a role that HR can play with the leadership, first of all, to say that these are the tenets of, our behaviors, the workplace behaviors that we demonstrate? Like, what have you seen in the industry? Like, especially in the startup world, I think there's this whole thing about hustling and being high performance is being on, switched on all the time. Where do we find that balance?
Interesting. I'll tell you why. Because I think from the time that COVID has come into play, hustling and all, it took us at least the last 1 year to get hustled again. Organizations are still hustling.
Right.
Not all of us want to come back to office.
Right.
I think that's their big time now.
Right.
I mean, recently you must have seen a lot of people have resigned. I think a lot of women at TCS has resigned.
Yes, absolutely.
And that was out. It's not something that I'm quoting.
Of course, it's public knowledge. Yeah.
Similarly, I think hustling in the office is very different. Yes, there has been a mindset saying if you're in office late hours, they look at you differently.
Right.
But then personally, I feel doesn't make sense.
Right.
At least I have seen it from the time I have started working.
But the organization also should be tuned to look at it in that way.
How do you look at it is a very different terminal. I mean, the way you look at it is very different. But having said that, all of us have goals.
Correct.
If you're able to match or, you reach your goals, I think that talks for the work that you do.
Correct. So how can HR play a role in making the average employee really understand the importance of a goal that the company or a target that the company has taken? Because normally what happens is that, let's say the person working on the shop floor in your pharma experience may be concerned with completing his or her shift, doing whatever they need to do, meeting parameters, going home for the day, collecting their paycheck at the end of the day. How do you inspire them to say that, look, we as an organization have taken this goal to become whatever 2x of who we are, and you have a role to play in that? How can HR bring about that?
So that's where you have something called rewards and recognition, which gets tied in. It's very simple, right? Now, at that level, I think they are more important. That's the crux of the organization, right? Especially when 70% of your workforce is blue collar, they are the crux.
Right.
And they are not educated as us.
Right.
But they do understand, and their values are the same as us.
Right.
That's what we need to understand. Can you tie up what they're doing to the values that they can identify with?
Got it. Okay.
The minute you do that, and once they understand the importance of them playing that role, it's not difficult, but it's not easy. So it does take some amount of time of spending time with them, helping them, giving them examples, which it's easy for them to understand and digest, and identify people who are very good at the job.
Right.
And it's not difficult to identify. Once you identify, make sure they're rewarded.
Got it. What are some of the cautionary red lights that an HR leader should look for? Like, let's say that a company has taken a goal that we are going to scale up in the next couple of years, but there are these signs, the red flags that are there in the organization, which will actually result in them not scaling up. What are some things that you can look for, which is a warning sign for you to act?
That's going to be very difficult because every
company is different. I know.
Every company is different, right? And some of them, you could have bad elements. How do you know they are bad element? When you are hiring, you won't know. It's only as they work with you, you'll know. So you need to make sure you identify them. That's how I'm going to loop it back and saying the goals that you have. If everyone has understood their goals, and then the manager, watches, right, the activities that get done, the work that is happening. So you document it. Again, red flags can be so many. How do you even identify? Very difficult at times.
So if you were to give a few words of advice to the HR leaders and anyone who works in the HR fraternity who are sort of trying to build high performance organizations, what are some things that you would ask them to keep in mind so that things work?
Make sure the roles and responsibilities are defined to the T.
Okay. Of every employee.
Everybody who comes in.
Okay. That's one. Okay.
That's one. For that to happen, the person who joins in, his onboarding has to be perfect.
Okay.
We
Good
can't
onboarding.
Get, Good onboarding. We can't get to be perfect, but at least he should get a chance to feel every department. When I say feel, wrong word to use, but then primarily understand. Spend some time. Just showing them presentations don't help.
Right.
Maybe shadowing with the leaders of that department will help them understand.
Right.
Because not all of us come from a similar industry. Some of us do. Some of us don't. For example, if HR comes from a pharma industry or something, they'll understand. But if they come from a total IT industry, pharma industry is very different.
Correct.
If you've never, so I was just talking to another friend of mine who in the HR space, and she's in the retail. I was talking to her and she said she's looking for somebody in the supply chain, retail. I said, no, because picking, packing. I said, hold on. My pharma also has similar.
Yeah.
So, but then she said supply chain.
Right.
So I said, I come from a supply chain and I understand what you're trying to tell me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
It's good to...
So roles and responsibilities, onboarding, good onboarding. So
good onboarding, good roles and responsibilities. Make sure it's not just the HR which communicates, but also the manager communicates.
Right.
And how often do you want a continuous feedback? See, that's something that's very important, right? It's not just once a year appraisal that you do and then you take people where they are. But I would say it's a continuous feedback. How often do you want to do it?
Right.
And do you want to rate everybody 5, 4, 3, 2, 1? Or do you want to just make notes on, okay, this is good and this is not good?
Yeah.
If it's not good, very simple, right?
Simple.
You don't have to
normalize.
You don't have to make it so complicated.
Yeah.
Simple things. Just say good. That's good. He's good, so he's doing his job. He knows what he has to do. So which basically means that person can be moved to the next level. Maybe after a year or something like that. What if someone's not doing well?
Right.
What can you help them to improve? It's simple conversations.
Right.
It could be done once a month. Why do it once in 6 months? You would have forgotten.
Yeah.
Because if you do once a month, say someone...
Then course corrections are possible.
Correct. What if someone's done well for 9 months?
Right.
But 3 months they're not able to. What do we look at? We look at those 3 that has not been done or the 9 that's been done well.
Got it. Understood.
Right? Every month if you do, then you will know, okay, so what if he's not done for 3, he's done it for 9.
Right.
You can then course correct the 3. There could be a personal issue. Do we know about it?
Right, yes.
I think all of this, that continuous feedback helps the managers and the employees blend better, get to know each other better. Then it just becomes easier.
Got it.
And that's how your performance doesn't drop.
Got it. So these are great points, Aparna. Thank you so much. And I'm sure that the HR fraternity tuning in will benefit greatly from what you've shared.
I hope. So again, all of us come with experience.
Yes.
And I'm sure all of us talk from experience.
Yeah.
What is taught to us in college is not what
you face in reality. Thank you. On that note, thank you so much for coming on Close the Loop.
Thank you so much. It's been wonderful to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.